everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Design Therapy. I'm your host, Cassie Patterson, a creative designer and brand strategist. And on the Design Therapy, we talk all things inspirational, experimental, and finding that artist within. And today's episode is going to be even more experimental because I have the mix and match master guru, fashionista, thrift queen herself, Audrey with affectionately Audrey. Welcome to this episode.
Thanks so much for having me.
Woo! I wish I had some clapping in the back. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited.
So tell everybody a little bit of who you are, what you do. Your Instagram is killer. You are the queen of mix and match. I wish I could mix and match like you. Like, you make me envious. I always get on there and I'm like, I want to be able to mix that. I did yesterday.
Oh, yay!
I did some a pattern on my pants with a stripe, and then I did a completely different fabric on top, and I was like, Audrey would be so proud.
Yes, I love that. People tell me that all the time. They're like, I was like, Audrey would love this, and I'm like, I would. So yeah, I'm Audrey, and I really do. It's kind of difficult to describe what I do, but I just kind of am like a funky fashion, sustainable girl, and I love styling. I really just style for myself. I love coming up with different ideas. I have this little thing I've been doing lately called hodgepodgestyle, which is just basically a confused mixture of style, and I love encouraging people to step out of their box and take things a little bit further and take that next step into whatever your version of style and creativity is. So that's really kind of what I'm about. I'm all about sustainable fashion, and I really only thrift or buy resale or make sure that it's from a sustainable designer. So I enjoy that aspect of showing people that you can be funky. You don't have to look all neutral or what some people call granola to,
I know the pattern. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. So I enjoy that aspect of it, showing people that you can be really wild and wear really crazy things. It's all just about how you pair it and how you have a vision for those items that you thrift or that you find on resale sites.
I know that because you are your aesthetic is so strong and so bold. Every time I go thrifting or shopping, I seriously am like, what would Audrey pick? You're in my brain now. I'm like, okay, I love that. Okay, I even wore a bolder pattern tonight for you.
I love it. I know
it's vintage.
I love that. I love the colors, like the purple.
Thank you. My skirt's brown, but
I was like, what color could I wear? I'm gonna put this blue, like velvet, weird top on.
I love it. What is your favorite piece in your closet right now?
Oh man, that's rough. Okay, probably because I feel like I've worn it like a million times and I found a million uses for it. It's this vintage blue plaid blazer. I don't know if you've seen it on my Instagram, but it's like a cream and like kind of like a baby blue plaid. It fits me really well, and I don't know, I just have found myself like gravitating toward it all the time. I've worn it a lot. I mean, obviously it's so hot right now, so I haven't worn it a ton other than just styling up pictures, but that's probably, I guess I would say that's a piece that I have gravitated toward the most as of late. But man, favorite piece, there's so many. I've just been like, how did I just thrift this? Like, I just don't understand who would get rid of this. That's what I'm always like, who would put this in a bag to go to Goodwill? I don't understand.
What's your oldest piece in your closet? Vintage wise.
Oh man. Oh, vintage wise. Okay.
Like the oldest piece of clothing, because I have a piece that is a sports 1934 sports Christian Dior 2-piece.
Man. Okay. I don't know, because I get vintage stuff all the time because I love taking like a vintage aesthetic and making it modern. So I definitely have some like 30s, 40s, 50s dresses. I have this vintage Givenchy jacket. And vintage, I know, it's like so good. I found it at the East Nashville thrift store, which is crazy because I was like, East Nashville, why is this over here?
Yeah.
But it's like a vintage Givenchy sport, and the tag is so vintage. And then I have a pair of vintage Saint Laurent pants that I got at the same Goodwill, and they just a super old like tag. I think they're probably from the 70s, just based on what the tag looks like. But that Givenchy, I think that might be from the 60s or the 70s. But it's so hard to tell because, you know, you just never know like what stuff, and all my stuff is thrifted, so I just have to guess. But I love vintage.
Oh, I got lucky. It was still on my tag.
Oh, what? Okay.
It was a hand sewn in tag.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. And
I've been wanting to find a Christian Dior piece.
I got lucky. It was in Memphis. It was like a 2-story on Idlewild. It was an old vintage store that's not there anymore. And she literally had everything from early 1900s wedding gowns, ball gowns, shawls, wraps, piano scarves, everything. And then she shut down. But I'm so glad I got a couple pieces out of there.
I always love thinking with thrifted pieces, especially vintage. I always love thinking who owned this before me?
Exactly.
Like who wore this to this party, or like their, you know, debutante ball, or, you know, whatever. I always love thinking about that, and like how it's fun to and that's, I think, I'm so intrigued by the idea of thrifting and recycling and giving something new life. You know, it served a purpose in their wardrobe, and now it can serve a purpose in mine. And if I ever happen to be through with it, then it'll serve a purpose in someone else's, you know? And so I just love that idea of kind of like the Toy Story version, but for clothes, you know, like giving a toy a new life, you know, with someone else.
I love that. So how did you get started in your industry? Like, did you always have like a love for fashion? Did you kind of grow up with it, or was it later in life? How did you get started with fashion?
I did not grow up with it. My mom was always a thrifter, but we did not thrift for fashion. We were home. I was homeschooled. I have 3 sisters, and there's 4 of us. And I was very much a tomboy. I did not dress up. I looked like a little boy. I got mistaken for a little boy so many times. You know, it's fine. Like, who cares, really? But it was just funny. I just did not. For me to be so into it today, it's funny that like I didn't really grow up with that. But once I kind of got into my high school years, I cared more about it. But I worked in law enforcement, you know, for a long time. And so I didn't really get to explore that much. And so once I left law enforcement, I definitely was very intrigued by the idea that I could dress up every day and what that looks like. And it was still kind of business professional. But really, when I moved to Nashville, I felt more of, you know, this how the South is. I mean, if you're not wearing athleisure or camo, then it's like, what are you doing? And who are you as a person?
I feel like it's changing though. That
is.
Especially maybe when we were in high school, and that was kind of like, you know, early 2000s to 2010-ish was like the last era of that. And I feel like in the last 10 years it's been changing.
It's growing a lot. It's still funny though when I go home to my hometown in South Georgia. Like if I go into a Chick-fil-A or like a Walmart or wherever, and I just happen to be dressed up more than usual, I mean, it is like the time stops. I mean, like everybody's
like, who's that?
They're like, is there a movie going on around here? Like it's so like, it's funny. Like my family comments on it. They're like, Audrey, why do you have to do that? And I'm like, I'm sorry.
It's me.
Yeah.
You know?
So when I moved to Nashville, I feel like I had a little bit more freedom. Like people were used to seeing a little bit more of creativity, a little bit of something that was a little bit funkier. And so I didn't quite feel so like sticking out like a sore thumb. And so I felt like I could explore a little bit more. And I really just got to the point where I was like, I'm going to figure out what I like, what I want to do. I'm not going to compare myself to everyone else. I'm going to figure out what I want, what I like, and what is my style. And that's what it's developed into. And I feel like I gave myself the freedom while I was in Nashville to kind of just find my niche, you know, what I really liked, you know, regardless of whether it was trendy or someone else liked it, you know, it was like the popular thing. I just found what I liked. And so I was so nervous to like start doing Instagram stuff and like talk to myself on the camera and all that kind of stuff. And so I really just, for the longest time, just posted what I liked because it was fun for me. And then I felt like people started really liking it, and, you know, and so then I was like, okay, well, I could make this more, you know, and help inspire other people to do what I did and kind of get out of their fashion comfort zone. So.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So how would you tell those people if they were, you know, in search of expanding their style? How would you begin to tell them this is where you start mixing patterns, to start getting comfortable, to push yourself to that next step if they were really wanting to learn and get their wardrobe exploratory?
I think the biggest thing, and the thing for me was, I mean, I know looking at me now, you probably people are like, oh, she could wear anything. She would never be scared to wear anything, whatever.
Mhm.
But I was scared, like when I first started getting dressed and mixing prints or wearing things with crazy prints and patterns. Like I was nervous because I just was like, I don't know, I think this looks good together, but I don't have any experience mixing prints, so I'm not sure. And so I think really just playing around, like letting happy accidents happen, and having, not worrying about what other people think, and really just playing around and doing what you like and what you think is fun. And I think for me, I would try stuff on at home. And I think we feel it's so funny how embarrassed we feel even with ourselves.
Yeah.
Like even when we're with ourselves, we're like, oh, I'm so embarrassed that I just screwed up that video. And I'm like, yeah, but nobody knows but you. So who really cares? So if you play around in your own wardrobe and you throw some things together, if it looks horrible, who cares? Like no one knows. But the more that you play and the more that you put things on and the more that you are willing to step out of your comfort zone, even in the littlest bit, then the more confident that you become to actually wear those things outside. And I think if you want to get started, thrifting is a perfect way, because if you find a shirt that you like, but you're kind of not sure how you're going to wear it, and it's $5, then you're not really wasting a lot of money, and sure, you should value your money and you should value that piece of clothing for what it is. But if you find a polka dot shirt that you're like, man, I really think that I could print mix with this and this could be something worth it, but I'm not sure, then that's $5 is not a lot for you to be able to experiment in your wardrobe. So I always tell people, when you go to the thrift store, when you go shopping, if you want to step out of your comfort zone, which I always encourage, then you have to be willing to look in other sections of the store than you ordinarily would. So you have to be able to, like, I gravitate completely to the patterns. I hardly ever look at the plain colors unless it's just something that pops out at me. So you have to be willing to make that active step, to step out of your comfort zone, and just give yourself grace. I mean, you really have to just don't pressure yourself. Don't try to make something work that's not working, but you just have to try. And I think people are scared to try because we are embarrassed of ourselves.
Yeah.
But no one else knows but you. So you might as well try and
you just
have a laugh later. Yeah. That's all you have to do.
So if I was going into this thrift store, like what would you start with? Would you start with a shirt, a skirt, socks, gloves, hat? Like what would you start with if I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to give this a go and get out of my beige on beige on beige? What would you say? What would you suggest for people to start with?
I get a lot of people that tell me they're overwhelmed at the thrift store. And it's so funny to me because when I go in, it's like I get so excited to go thrifting. Like it is my therapy. So it's just funny to me to have that contrasting idea about it and for it to be so overwhelming to someone. But I think it's one of those things where when we go to the grocery store, it's the same concept. Like there's so many things in there, like honestly, but because we go with a specific list, or we know exactly what we're looking for, or we've been in that thrift store or that grocery store a million times, we're not overwhelmed. So if you go into it with the thought of like, this is going to be too much, I'm so overwhelmed, this is not going to be good, then you're obviously going to have that experience. And the different thing with the thrift store is you really can't go in with, I do go in once in a while, and I, in the back of my mind, I have maybe a Rolodex of things that I know that I'm looking for. Like, oh, okay, I need a new just plain black turtleneck. I'm going to look for that today or whatever, But if you go in with that agenda, you have to realize it's a thrift store. Like they don't have 5 J. Crew black blazers on the wall that you can just find your size. You have to go in with the aspect of like, what cool thing could jump out at me today? And so I find what I do is I have a kind of a method for how I hit things. So I always look at the shoes and the bags first because I can get that out of my mind. Then I'm not obsessing the entire time. If this other person is getting this cool pair of shoes, on the shelf, because they're so accessible, they're like right there in your face. So it's not like you really have to dig to find them. So I always do that. Then I hit the dresses. Then I go and I hit the skirts, and then I hit the pants, and then I go to the tops. And so if you hit it that way and you just look at it at a rack at a time, it's a lot easier. And just scan. You don't have to look at every piece. You can just see what jumps out at you. And that's honestly how I do it. I don't necessarily like go through every piece. I just go, oh, that looks like it could be a cool print, or, oh, I like, that might be a cool fabric, or, oh, I like that color. And then I'll pick it up because if I looked at every piece in that thrift store, I'd be in there for 4 hours, which is
which
is a dream to me.
Still a good thing though, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like I treasure hunt, especially when I go to like, you know, resale shops, or even when I went to UAL where I met you.
Yeah.
I literally was like, I could be in here all day long, every single piece.
Same. Like, honestly, I've been in thrift stores for 3 hours. Like, I've been like, I need a release. I need a therapy session.
I'll be back later.
Yeah, you know, and like that huge one that's in Goodlettsville up in Nashville, like that big one. I'd go in there, I'd be in there for like 3 hours, honestly, just like every little piece.
I'm gonna have to go with you next time. Next time you're in Nashville, I'm gonna go with you.
Yes, I would love that. I would love that. But the other day when I don't know if you saw it, but I had thrifted those shirts, and that hat. I went on my lunch break, so I had like 30 minutes to look. And so it's
I didn't
one
know
of those
you did that in 30 minutes.
Yeah, I had like 30 minutes to go. And I really was just like, I'm going to pop in and look at the shoes, you know, and then I start looking at other stuff. But it doesn't take long to find something cool if you're going in with an open mind. If you're going in, and this is so funny with that Goodwill, I've been in there maybe 10, 12 times, and I've never really found anything. Every time I go in, I'm like, oh, I hate this Goodwill. I never find anything cool. And of course I go in and I find like the shirts of my dreams in there, you know? So it's just, people ask me, they're like, which Goodwill is the best? I'm like, they're all good because everybody donates to all of them. And you never know who's going to donate what, when. So you just have to go in with an open mind and be willing to find something really cool, or something that will work in your wardrobe that's a good deal, or something that'll help you step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. So I know that you have that creative process when you're shopping, but what about in your house? Do you have a creative process of when you go before you enter into your closet? Do you sit down and think about ideas? Do you piece things together the night before? What do you do to like get in the creative zone to go into your magical haven, your closet? Because I've seen pictures of your closet. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. I go thrifting quite often. But I think that it's a bunch of things. I think number one, I don't put a lot of pressure on myself. Like, I don't go in with I have to look the best I've ever looked today. Or if I don't come up with an outfit in 5 minutes, then I'm emotionally just gone, you know? And I think that's because, and I have a lot of people too, that'll talk to me and they'll say, gosh, I don't know. I don't know do you wear everything in your closet? Like, it's so overwhelming to have a big closet. And I'm like, why is it overwhelming? Because we have a lot of days to get dressed. Like, there's a lot of days to get dressed. Yeah. So if I put an outfit on today and I like it, I just do it again tomorrow. Yeah. You know, I'll just get dressed again tomorrow. So it's like, I just keep getting dressed, and so I think really for me, I go in, I kind of think, what am I feeling today? Like, how am I feeling? Do I want to be casual? Do I want to be extra? What do I want to do? Do I want to wear prints? Do I want to wear colors? Like, how do I kind of feel today? And then I just go off of that. I don't stick to one piece. I'll start with one piece, and maybe I'll take a piece and I'll say, okay, I like this top. I haven't worn this in a long time. Let me put it on. So I put it on. I'm like, oh, maybe it'll look good with these pants. So I put the pants on. But then I'm like, wait a minute. I don't really like these two together, but actually I'm in the mood for these pants. So let me take the top off, and then I'll put another top on. And then, and it's kind of not really pressuring kind of free yourself. Flow. Yeah, just letting it be fluid and letting it be flexible. And I feel like for me, I find the best outfits when I get frustrated is when I put something together that I'm like, I hated that. Like, I really just hated that. It was not what I wanted it to be. I did not like that. And I've had a couple times where, like, taking pictures in outfits, and later on I was like, I'm not gonna post that because, like, I was not in my groove. I forced myself to make something happen that was not happening. I didn't just stop for a second. And I think a lot of people put pressure on themselves to be a certain something. And I think that you just have to have fun. And that's really what it should be about. That's what any creative outlet should be about, is just to have fun and just enjoy yourself and try something new, do something different. But at the end of the day, if you are like, you know what, I tried enough things today and it was not working out, I'm just going to go and wear a pair of jeans and a t-shirt. As long as you tried something, it is what it is, and that's okay, because you can just try again tomorrow. And then maybe tomorrow your mind will be fresh and you'll have a new idea and you can put that on, and then you'll be glam tomorrow.
And we're such forgetful creatures. Human beings, we forget what happened yesterday, 6 days ago, 30 years ago, 100 years ago. We're like, wait, what's history?
Yeah, no, 100%. And it really, honestly, if you if you let that affect you, like yesterday I was doing this, I'm gonna post it in a little bit, I was doing this hodgepodge style video, and the first 3 I was like, oh, I'm loving these, it was great, and I had this last piece, and I'm telling you, if I could lit that thing on fire, I was just like, it was not working for me. I was just like, I cannot do, I think I put it on my story, it was like this cheetah print vest, and it was just like, I just want to rip this thing to shreds. I just could not figure out how to make it work because I was trying to print mix, and everything I thought it would look good with was not a print. And so I was just like, but I'm doing it specifically for this video. So I'm like trying to make it work. And I was so frustrated, and I was just like, you know, so ordinarily I would have just said like, why am I trying to make this thing work? Like, why am I pushing this thing to work? Like, I'm just going to put it right here. I still like the piece, and then I can just try it again tomorrow and put it with something else when I'm not trying to print mix, you know. But I ended up pulling 2 outfits out of it, which are not my favorite, but I did it. But you know, it's just kind of that mindset is just letting it be fluid, letting it flow. And like I said, I always have the best outfits when I'm just like, I just stare at my closet and something peeks out, and I'm like, oh, maybe that'll look good, and I try it on, and I just have fun.
Whatever sparks your creative mindset for the day.
Yeah, whatever I feel like that day is what happens.
So I know that you said that you have those obstacles of when you're challenged with your day and you just want to kind of push it aside. Are there any other obstacles that you kind of face with, you know, that creativity, or even like sewing? It's technical obstacles. What other kind of obstacles do you run into with trying to create and push your boundaries with fashion?
I feel like, for me, I'm constantly trying to, this is going to seem like a weird obstacle, but I'm constantly trying to add the extra layer or add the extra thing or make it so crazy that people probably would look at it and be like, what is this? You know? And so I think an obstacle for me is just kind of sometimes letting it be simple, letting it be a casual thing. And I think I've had to, even though like I want to be known for crazy fashion because that's what I truly love, but I think sometimes I try to push myself so much to be this extra crazy person that I never allow myself to just be simple, to just wear 2 colors together, and then that's okay. So that's an obstacle, you know, for me. And I definitely like, I want to learn how to sew so bad because I want to be able to alter things and make, and you know, because I've really transitioned. I can teach
you a little.
I want to learn. I literally want to learn so bad. I want to be able to alter stuff. Please teach me.
I did costuming in college, and then my grandmother taught me how to sew when I was little. So I can hem and bead and do millinery hats.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love that. I have so many pieces that I'm like, oh, this would be so cool with different sleeves, or if I put these 2 pieces together or whatever. I love that. I want to do that so bad. But my fashion has really, because you know, I do all these DIYs all the time. So I'm constantly like, how can I transition this into an even funkier piece or into an even weirder piece? And I think that it's so easy for us to, because I can sew, of course, you know, like moderately, but I can't sew. But I can't sew like alter things. Like I couldn't bring it apart, put it back together, and it not look incredibly homemade. You know, I just can't do that. So I've tried to be like, I don't want to not create because I feel like I don't have the ability. And I think that's a big thing, you know, for me is I'm like, so what can I do with a little bit of glue or a little bit of fashion tape or just my basic sewing, you know, to make something unique and different. And, but I definitely have struggled with, sorry, that was a bug. I definitely have struggled with feeling like I don't possess enough skills in other ways to really be different or to really like have a niche. And I struggle all the time with feeling like I feel like at least once a month, I'm like, I just can't, I'm not going to do this Instagram thing anymore. It's not good. The algorithm sucks. And you know, I'm not good. I'm not different. You know, I mean, like once a month at least I have this like mental breakdown, and then I'm like, oh wait, like I really do enjoy this and I'm just being crazy, you know? So, I feel like I just need to get out of my own way sometimes and let things be. And I have tried really hard on Instagram to not let it be about anything else but my self-expression. And I do want to encourage other people. And that is a huge part. Like when someone tells me they were inspired by me, I'm like, me? Oh my God, are you serious? You know, I soak that up.
Fabulous.
you know, well, it's such an honor for me to feel, I mean, it really is. And I don't mean that to sound like, you know, this try to be this false, you know, humbleness, but like really it is. I'm just like, are you serious? Like, I'll thank you. I didn't even know, you know, but I think that's because I try so hard to not let it be about the likes or about the comments or about anything else. It's just really, it's really a just page of my self-expression and my creativity, because that's an outlet that I need in my life in order to be my full self. And so I think the fact that other people join sometimes is just like mind blowing to me. But yeah, I think just being simple and kind of getting out of my own head sometimes is hard for me.
Yeah. Well, do you have any like influences with all of your aesthetic and kind of your vision? Do you have any big influencers that really kind of put an impact on your style, or, you know, designers, other people in the community? I know there's a lady out in Knoxville that we both love.
Adrienne?
Yo.
Yes, I love Adrienne so much. I always joke, I tell my husband all the time, like, God, if we lived in the same city, man, we would do some damage. We would just be like thrifting all the time and getting crazy stuff. You know, I was thinking about this. I was reading your questions and I was like, man, I've always loved Iris Apfel, and I always I love her just because I think she just boldly does what she wants. And I just love that about her. But I follow a lot of high-end designers just because I'm intrigued and I'm just so inspired by a lot of them. Like Alexander McQueen or Mary Catherine-Sue, or, I mean, just so many, like Dior, you know, just all of them. They're just so inspiring. And it's just an ever-changing world. But I think there's a lot of, it's hard, honestly, for me, because most people that do fashion, it's very vanilla, you know, it's very like kind of a dress or run of the mill, which is not bad. It's awesome. You know, I love that version of fashion, but it's not me. So I don't necessarily look at those people, even though I'm inspired by them in other ways, but see them as an influence into my fashion. So I feel like a lot of times there's just fewer people that are an influence for me in that way.
Is Vivienne Westwood, she's the one that has like the crazy fashion too, right?
She does some pretty crazy stuff. I feel like she's kind of along the lines of Diane von Furstenberg to me. But she's crazier than Diane von Furstenberg. Yeah. But I just feel like she's
been pushing the boundaries lately. I'm pretty sure. I've been seeing on Instagram where she's been pushing.
Okay, I haven't seen her stuff lately, so I'll have to go check it out lately, or recently. But there's a girl on Instagram, and her Instagram is Susie Bubble.
Okay,
I think it's Susie Chin. Don't quote me on that. It's her last name, but I love her. Every time, I just like, she's so funky. She has the funkiest pieces, and there's some other people that I follow. There's a girl. Her handle is Beer Bottles and Chainsaws.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
And, there's a couple other people that they just kind of have funkier fashion. I think there's one. It's Marianne. I think it's Marianne Thesden. But there's a couple that I watch and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I like what she's doing, or that's funky, or that inspires me to be like extra in this way, or to do this or do that. But it's getting more, the world now is more kind of, it's going in that way where it's just like anything goes with fashion, which I'm all about. But
well, it's younger generation pushing the boundaries, you know, like Billie Eilish, and really putting it forward for that Gen Z.
Right. And making it more where you don't have to wear J. Crew or Gap or whatever to be accepted, you know? So, and cause that's really what I came from, is that world. And it was hard, you know, and that's why I feel like in Nashville is really when I branched out, because I felt like I was in this box where I was in Georgia. And so when I got to Nashville, I got to kind of make that box a little bit bigger, which gave me the freedom to make it even bigger, you know? So,
it's crazy how how your style like evolves throughout the years and kind of changes as you grow and mature, and like what your aesthetic is. Because I know for me, like I was the same. I was like, I love J. Crew and I love Gap and I love Express, and then I'm slowly starting. I'm like, no, I want more refined quality pieces that fit, you know, my life, and things that I want to keep in my closet for 15 years. And I look back on it and I'm like, oh, I have a vintage piece. Thank you. That's a beautiful leather and just high quality. I just want things to feel nice and soft and luxurious on me. And that's why I started to change my closet, because of that.
I want my closet to be a collection, you know, and like that's, and I love one of a kind pieces. Like I love knowing that I probably have the only one of this, or like, you know, few things. But I think, yeah, it's just funny to think about the person that I was. And that's why I always encourage people. I'm like, it's a journey. Like life is a journey regardless, but even when you're creative, like you'll have painters that they start off and they're like, God, what did I paint back then? That was horrible, you know, but now I'm like sort of fine because I've given myself the freedom to become who I am as an artist. And I feel like, you know, we're such an instant gratification generation. We want it instantly, and that's just not what happens. You know, it takes time to become what you want to be. And I feel like if you give up too early, then you're really missing out on an awesome part of your life, you know? And so I don't,
you'll miss part of the journey, you know, it's experiencing life and being happy and being in the moment, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Being in the moment and just enjoying where you are and knowing that you won't be there for forever and you'll keep growing. And even now, I'm like, I still grow and I still think about things all the time, or, you know, and even now I'm almost always consistently happy with what I put together or but that's been like 5 or 6 years in the making. And there's outfits 5 years ago. I'm like, what? Like, I hate that. Like, why did I put that together? You know, or you do like the Facebook cleanse where you're like going through all your old pictures and you're like,
I just got rid of
delete. You know, you're like, get out of here.
Anything from 2008 or 9 and back, they're gone.
Yeah, no, just like complete wipe. No, but yeah, it was crazy.
Oh man. So what would your ultimate dream project be? If you had an unlimited budget, unlimited resources, go anywhere in the world, have a collab with anybody, what would that dream project look like for you?
Man, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Because I would love to make what I love to do a reality and make that pay the bills. But it's so crazy because I don't want to be, and not that there's anything wrong with this, but I really don't want to be an influencer in the normal way that you make money, if that makes sense. I love inspiring people to step out of their comfort zone and to be confident in themselves and like push forward. Like I love that kind of influence. But I don't really want to make money like the typical influencer way. And so I've been like, okay, what can I do in order to do what I love, but also help people? And so I've been toying around with the idea of like, I don't really know what it looks like. I've just been thinking about like doing like, even if it was a YouTube thing, I guess, but like doing like a TV show almost like, you know, and taking people that have never been thrifting before to the thrift store and seeing what happens, and just kind of having like this conversation around what that looks like in style, and taking people out of their comfort zone and pushing them to be more, you know, or their style to be more, you know, and I just think that would be so fun. But otherwise, you know, I don't know. I've been thinking about that because I'm like, I don't want to be in retail forever. You know, I want to be able to do what I love and dress weird all the time and do things. And so I think
start dressing people, you know, dressing and being a stylist and running around and like dressing people for events and being like, do you want something to push your boundaries?
Yeah.
I'm your girl.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like I'm finally to the point in my life where I'm like, I've figured out my style. So I'm like, okay, well, what next? You know, like what does that look like next? And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll just keep pushing the Instagram game and keep trying to like put myself out there like that. And I know I feel like as long as you're open and you are willing to explore things, then generally a lot, and I know for me, I guess especially like ideas will come, you know, and I'll be like, oh, that would be a fun thing to do, or I have this issue myself, so I wonder if other people do too, you know. So I feel like I'm kind of like diving down that road, like trying to figure out like what would that look like that aspect of like having a show and doing something fun with that, you know. But
just start doing it. Just bring your camera, you know. And that's why I started, you know, doing this, is because I was getting so burned out on graphic design and creating so much, and I wanted to have a community that we can just share each other's stories and just and listen and be able to have that platform. And that's why I started interviewing people. I was like, I want to hear your story. I want to hear where you're coming from and how we can share it with others who are struggling with the same things, you know?
Right. No, and I think that it's so much, you know, my husband's an actor, and we talk all the time about how sometimes you just have to make your own work, you know, and sometimes you just have, and I know it's our world is not, I wish that it was more driven toward creativity, you know, we kind of always had the option to go down that road, but we really don't. And so it's like, you have to keep going and keep pushing. and keep doing what you love and what makes you happy, even if it's just on the side, you know. And then you have to keep, it's kind of like with a short film, like a lot of actors, you know, they'll make their own short films, because it's like, if you can't be employed in someone else's project because of whatever's going on, then you kind of make your own, because you want to work and you want to experience new things and you want to do stuff. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like, okay, what does that look like? And I really, like, honestly, like a couple months ago, I've just kind of been like, okay, I got to figure this out. We're in quarantine. I got to think about all these things, you know?
I swear quarantine, like, probably woke everybody up, because I literally was like, what do I really love doing? And I go, I love interviewing. I didn't realize how much I love, like, it makes like a light in me. I'm like, I just want to. I love that. So it's like a newfound thing during quarantine. I'm like, all right, let's just do it.
Let's just do this. And so that's kind of, I'm the same in the same place. And I just ended up going back to work like a month ago. So I'm just like, you know, but that's kind of where I'm at, is I'm like, okay, I need to set myself up for success, not failure, for success. I need to set myself up for success. So like, what do I need to do right now? Like, how do I need to keep pushing? And like, how do I need to keep being consistent? And sometimes like achieving your dreams is really, and I have to keep preaching this to myself, but achieving your dreams is really about, like, a lot of times it's about sacrifice in the moment to have what you want in the long run. So like for me right now, I'm working 40 hours a week, and so I only have 2 days off, but those 2 days literally are filled up with me just creating content for the rest of the week. And I'm like, I don't want to lose momentum on Instagram. I want to keep going. I want to keep pushing. And it's a pain because I just want to not do anything on those days. But I'm like, you know what? I know that if I don't create content and I'm not doing stuff that makes me happy, then I'm going to be in a worse state of mind than if I just use those days to rest. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to keep pushing, keep going. And I know that eventually I'll be able to do what I love all the time. And it won't be this all crammed into 4 hours, you know, to try to do all this stuff. And so, I think that, and like I said, I preach that to myself all the time, is I was like, you know, I had all this free time at quarantine to do what I wanted to do and create all these outfits and do these videos and just have the time of my life. And I'm like, I can't let that go. You know, I need to hold on to that, and I need to make that work in this environment and still pay my bills. And then as long as I'm doing that, and as long as I'm pushing, then, and I'm being a unique force, you know, I'm being something different, then I'll succeed, as long as I'm pushing and I want it, you know, bad enough.
That's so beautiful. I love that.
Hopefully, anyway. I'll cheer you on. You cheer me on.
Yes, that's what this community's for, you know. And we're here to support each other, and you know, on our good days and our bad days, especially when we want to like just basically cancel our Instagram, be like, I'm done. Bye.
Yes. I mean, like, seriously, once or twice a month, I'm just like full blown meltdown.
We're all feeling it. I don't know how many people reached out to me and they're like, I just don't want to do this anymore. And I'm like, I get you. And it's okay. It's okay to feel that. You just have to like feel it and then move on. It's okay. And I think that's for me too, is like, I just allow myself to feel it. I use my mind. I'm like, okay, this is stupid, but I'm going to allow myself to cry. I'm going to allow myself to freak out, even though I know it's dumb. And I think that's always what helps me, is I just get out that emotion, and then I'm so much more, I'm able to like actually give of myself to this project or whatever I'm working on, you know? And so, like I said, I think you just have to give yourself grace. I mean, you really, anytime of creative, I feel like if you're a creative person at all, then you have an emotional issue as well. You know, you're just like, cause you're just, in order to be a level of creative, I feel like that we are, there's always that angst, you know, there somewhere that allows you to be that creative person. So you just have to feel it sometimes and let it be what it's going to be. So on that note, so what would you leave and give advice to anybody out there in the creative industry, for fashion or any industry? What is some advice that you want to leave with somebody, just an impact for them?
I would say confidence does not happen overnight. A lot of people will just immediately tell you, just be confident, just be confident, just be confident. And I think that that's not always true. And I think, yes, you should be confident. You should not care about what other people think, but that is not an overnight transition. So I think that you have to take baby steps that get you to the point where you can wear 12 prints in one outfit and you don't give a crap what anybody else says about it. And just keep moving forward. And I think so many people try to, be a version of what someone else is instead of really seeking out what they should be. And so I always say, you know, I never want anyone to compare themselves to me. I want them to be able to, I want to be able to give them the tools to do what I do for themselves and to find their own niche and their own version of style. And so I would just encourage anyone that's kind of looking for that to look within and don't try to imitate necessarily what someone else is, but pick up little bits and pieces of what other people do and mold that into who you are, because that's really the only way that you're ever going to be happy with your style, is if you can allow other people to infuse what you do, but it really should always be what you do and what you love and not a version of what anyone else does.
Yeah. I love that. Oh. Well, thank you so much for coming on this episode. Yeah. I absolutely loved our conversation, and I learned so much more about getting in my closet and mixing and matching. And you always push me in my boundaries, so I'm so grateful for that. I seriously am. I'm going to have to go in and find all of my new pattern pieces I picked out, and I thought of you.
I love that. I love that so much. I love when people tell me that. So, well, thank you for having me. It's been awesome. I've had so many awesome conversations the last few days just about style, and I love it so much. So I thank you for letting me chat about it.
Of course. Well, tell everybody where they can heart you, like you, subscribe, and follow.
So I really just do stuff mainly on my Instagram right now, which is affectionately Audrey. And most people are like, can't. I'm trying to type affectionately. So if you just type AFF, it's comes up hopefully. So, but it's affectionately Audrey. And yeah, I really just dig into my Instagram and do my IGTVs and all this kind of stuff. And we'll see maybe in the future what a YouTube would look like, but still working on that. So still work in progress.
Just take that baby step and do it. Just do it.
Yes.
Well, thank you again so much. Make sure that you like this video if you want to learn more about the design therapy and all of our creative conversations. Thank you so much for being here, and we hope to see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.